Greetings, everybody. Welcome to Cody Ironworks. Gratuitously self-promoting today, finishing up some products, working on some different stuff, slowly trying to get some of this stuff out of here. So I'm going to stamp my name in a few of these, if I can. If I can find a tool that will hold the stamp good. Mm-hmm. It's fairly easy to screw those up. So you got to be a little careful about how you do that. Let me go grab the other ones that I did yesterday. Before I get too far along here, I might as well do the rest of these blanks. So these are the ones that we worked on. These are the ones that I worked on yesterday. And we might as well stamp those up while we're standing here. Got the stamps out. This is the minutia of this whole deal. You want to make dang sure you got your blanks in you before you do this, because otherwise what will end up happening is you'll just mash your stamps, and you'll just ruin them when you do this. Now I have held these barehanded and done this, but I got to tell you, I've also lost a whole bunch of stamps that have gone flinging out across the blacksmith shop too. So yeah. Hello everybody, we're working on some knives today. I've got a bunch of interesting stuff we're going to be working on. Some draw knives. I got a bunch of knives. I'm going to try to re-etch a couple of knives that I already have done up, because I wasn't really satisfied with the way the etching came out in the first time. So we're going to try to do them again. Right now we're going to stamp these blanks just before I forget to do it, because I have been known to do that. Build these knives, get them all the way done, and go, oh man, I didn't put my stamp in them. And so while I'm thinking about it, before I go any farther, I'm going to stamp them. And what those are is those are just letter stamps that I'm using, just little letter stamps, and I'm holding them with this setup. Well, I'll go ahead and chat in here. I'll answer your questions as much as I can. I am truly live today. This is not some kind of a Weird broadcast. I'm actually live, and I will talk to you and answer any questions. We're going to get into the weeds on this deal a little bit today. So if you want to ask questions, go ahead. I'll show you these blanks that I did up yesterday here in a minute. And they're all at various degrees of being done. And I'll show you some finish knives too. Like I said, I just want to make sure I get these stamped. So these are pretty much, hello, greetings from Cody, Wyoming. So these are some knife blanks that I forged out. A couple of these I did yesterday. This is kind of how they come out of the forging process. Best anvil for a beginner. You know, I've heard these Weaver anvils are a lot better than the old ones used to be, and the price is right on them. If it was me and I was going to go get a brand new anvil, and I might one of these days if I ever get flush, I'd get me one of those JHM Journeyman round horns. They're about 128 pounds. You're going to spend $800 on one, but you only ever have to buy one. Probably 20 or 30 before I was really satisfied with them. And I'll show you some finished ones here in a minute. But so here's the rough forgings. This is how they come out of the forging. And then this is kind of the rough grinding. So they go from this to this. Okay. And we're doing a couple of different styles. These ones have not been touched with the grinder yet. So these ones will get finished up soon. Good thing about these is that the finish on them is very simple. And then I'll show you a finished one. So here's one that's absolutely finished. Yeah, these are rasp. These are made out of horseshoe and rasp. And I'll show you what a horseshoe and rasp. Actually, this one isn't a horseshoe and rasp. This one actually is a file. But most of the ones I make are made out of horseshoe. This is a horseshoeing rasp for a farrier rasp. Okay. And then here's a blank that's all done that I wasn't happy with the handle on it, so I have to rehandle this one. But it was a good test because I got to see how good my glue holds that I use. But here's an absolutely finished one that I just did, and I just put this one, I actually just put this one on the Etsy store. And I'm pretty happy with that one. But right now, I'm going to show you some that we're going to try to, I'm happy with them, but I spent the money on a bunch of pattern welded steel that I got from a guy down in Alabama, and I'm not real satisfied with the way they etch. So here's two I did, and I'm mostly not a stock removal guy. And we're going to test this. So this is one, and I tried to use some vinegar on it the other day, and it didn't really take. And so what I'm going to do is, let me leave that here. Is we are going to try another experiment. Generally, you would get these where you wanted them before you ever put the handles and everything on them, but I'm going to experiment. We're going to experiment and see if maybe, hopefully I got a little of this left on here. There it is. So I'm going to wrap this handle in some of this cling wrap. Like I said, this is going to be an experiment. Thanks. But again, that's one of those things that as an artist, you sometimes I should quit while I'm ahead. But I'm not gonna. I'm gonna wrap this in some of this cling wrap. Wrap the handle on this. Yeah. I'm gonna wrap that. Yeah, that's Osage. It turned out really good, but I'm gonna push this down in here a little bit. And I know this might be a really bad mistake. Guys might be watching me make a really bad mistake on this. Undo all the work that I've already done. This is muriatic acid. We're going to do a little experiment here. Now, if a guy was really smart, you'd heat that up. So this is muriatic acid. It's for etching concrete, doing brickwork. We're going to give that a second. And we're just going to see how that works. Hello, greetings from Cody, Wyoming. So same thing with this one. So I got this one and it turned out really nice. I'm very happy with the knife and the knife shape, but I was really hoping that Damascus, that pattern welded steel would pop more. I was really hoping that I could get it to, and from, you can't see it on, I think it actually looks better in real life than it does on the camera, but I still want that Damascus pattern welded. Yeah, that's Elkhorn. And then my guy that does all my leather work, he really outdid himself with this one. So we're not going to screw with this one. That's why I'm experimenting with that one, because if I have to crack the handles off of that one, I won't feel quite so bad as if I have to crack the handles off of this one, because this one turned out really nice. And so we're going to give that a minute of stewing in that acid, and we'll see if the etch doesn't come out a little bit more. And then this is a custom one that I did. I'm just waiting for the guy to come pick it up. Ladder Damascus. But Joel just went all out on this sheath this time. I mean, he went wild. Look at that carving he did on it. This is 100% American made. As far as I know, I don't know. The rings, these brass rings could have come from China. Who knows? That stuff is hard to find anymore. But the horn is elk. So this is elk horn. The Damascus came from a guy who makes that down in Alabama. I'm pretty sure this is a Herman Oaks leather. I think Joel even gets his thread from the United States, I think. So I'm pretty happy with that. But we're just gonna wash this. A little bit. And it's bubbling pretty good. I don't know if you guys probably can't see it, but it is bubbling pretty good there. Be able to bring it in just a little closer. Maybe you can see it. So generally you would do this. Generally you would do this before you put the handles and everything on. But I was fairly satisfied with it. Well, if you collect, I just put the rasp one on the Etsy store. I just put the rasp. I don't know what I did with it now. I just put the rasp knife on the Etsy store. So, and we're going to be working on some more knives today. This one. Yeah, Joel kind of went all out. Is all steel forged with the exact same amount of ingredients? No, there are thousands of different kinds of steel. Or is there a different amount of the same ingredients to make different variants of steel? Yeah, all steel is different. So steel that structural steel is way different than tool steels or spring steels. There's 60 or 70 different kinds of steel in your automobile. Not all steels will harden. So this is the one I just put on the Etsy store. And this is my preferred style knife to make. And you can watch me build this knife because I've worked on this on several live streams that I've already done. And so, but this is more of my favorite style of knife to build, is one that's forged. I hand forge it. Did a little file work on the back. But Joel kind of went all out with these sheaths this time. I mean, I don't know where he found these copper snaps, but that's cool. So I'm very happy with that one. I don't do nearly as many knives as I used to. I'm so busy doing interior stuff now that keep eye on that. Like I said, it's an experiment, and I don't want to take it too far. I'll show you a pattern welding knife, what they look like after you carry them for a while. So once you carry one of these pattern welded knives for a while and they get into the elements, they oxidize out. So you can see the pattern on that one. But from here, just from there, it's pretty hard to tell that it's a piece of pattern welded steel. So if you're carrying them and using them a lot and they're getting blood on them, and you're using them to cut hay strings and all that stuff, pretty soon the pattern kind of, it doesn't totally go away. Guess I ought to put this on the Etsy store too. Hello, greetings, good afternoon or morning or wherever you're at. I'm from Cody, Wyoming, and Cody is the east entrance of Yellowstone National Park. So we're the closest town you can get to Yellowstone on the east side of the park, which is, we're on the east side of the Rocky Mountains. I'm in northeast Wyoming. So here's another one that I did here a while back. Tomahawk. Kind of traditional. It almost looks Viking-y. This one actually has a forge welded bit in it. You can see where I forged, when I wrapped that around there, then I forge welded this bit in. And I'm pretty, you're seeing stuff that I like. Because if I build something and I like it, I put it away. I don't, this is not the typical production stuff that I do. The typical production stuff I do is more like this. Because I'm selling a lot to the tourists. And so I'm actually working on, a bunch of these. Thank you. Well, so I've been a professional full-time blacksmith since 1990. And before that, I was an amateur one. So I'm about 36 or 37 years into doing this. So these are the typical ones that I do. And I guess I ought to put these on the Etsy store too. I never even think about it. They make good gifts. These are good bachelor, for your bachelor wedding bachelor gifts. But don't think that I don't really specialize. Here's one of the little heads. Again, Forge World. I actually did this one on a live stream here a week or two ago. I actually managed to get this little forge hot enough to do a forge weld on that. Turned out fairly good. So, traditionally, that's about the size that a tomahawk would have been. They weren't very big, traditionally. They were pretty small. We're coming along here. Kind of one of the bad parts about this whole deal is I'll have to take this sucker out of here and I'll have to redo the edge and rebuff the whole thing and get it all buffed up because, of course, the first thing that the acid attacks is the edge of the knife. And so I'll have to do a bunch of work on it, but we'll give it a few minutes here and we'll just kind of see. It's working on it. So mostly what I do though is I'm a real blacksmith, and so I do a lot of blacksmith stuff. And I do everything from jewelry to most of my Etsy store is this stuff. But I kind of do a little bit of everything. So these are arrow heads, traditional Viking style, medieval style arrowheads. all forged out of one piece of steel. Got dirt on my hands. I wonder how that happened. Thanks for the likes. I really appreciate it. So if you guys have questions about blacksmithing, what I'm really trying to do is promote the channel, get more followers, because I've got 1,100 videos on my channel, and it just has kind of died lately. And I pretty much give all my, I don't really have any secrets. I give all of my ideas away. Here's some of the little, really simple little copper bracelets that I've been forging lately. And of course, those haven't been cleaned or buffed or anything. That's right out of the forge, just come out of the forging. There's another one that I haven't bent yet that's just come out of the forging. And I do a lot of traditional stuff. So a lot of what I'm, like the handles, like this knife. So that handle came off of a piece of this horn. And this is a piece of elk horn, and I can almost tell you where this horn came from. I can pretty much tell you what drainage this horn came from right here in Wyoming. Now, please don't think that I'm going out and murdering elk for their horns. Hello. Thank you. That's awesome. Thanks. So what a lot of people don't understand, and you can see the elk horns in the background that I've got hanging here. That's all elk horn. And so every year, the deer species around here, they drop these right now. Actually, I saw a buck in town just last night who had one horn and one horn off. So they're dropping their horns right now. And of course, this is just a little piece, right? That's the main beam. That's where it was mounted to his head. And then what happens is the blood flow quits going to that, and bloop, they fall off. And then all of us cowboys go around and we pick those up. Yeah. And I do have some deer horn here, and I do make deer horn handles, but in order to do one of these slab style handles like this, it takes a big piece of horn, because you got to have a lot of meat, because this is the part that you want. So you got to have a lot of meat. So, but here's, like, this is a smaller, like you can see how much bigger this elk was than this one. This is a little raghorn bull. And this horn probably laid for a year before it got picked up. So this wasn't a first year shed. You can always tell because when they land, they always drop on the ground like that. And the side that isn't in the sun, it maintains its color. And then the part that's in the sun, a lot of times they'll get a little chalky like that. And if they lay there long enough, everything likes to eat them. The chipmunks like to eat them. The porcupines like to eat them. Heck, even the deer themselves, once in a while, you'll see a deer or an elk with one in their mouth, and they'll be gnawing on it. But the horn is actually white. The horn itself doesn't have any color, or the antler itself doesn't have any color. This color comes from the sap and the trees and rubbing on the trees. And those bulls, during the rut, they get to rubbing up and down on the trees, and they get the sap on their horns. So back in the day, you used to see a lot of jewelry and stuff made out of buttons. They would cut the button off and polish this. You can polish it up, but you can see how white, like this one isn't great, but you can see that where they're polished up a lot, they get shiny. So anyway, Don't think that I'm going out murdering elk for horn antlers for doing knife handles. I haven't killed an elk in 25 years. So tempted to pull that out of there, but I know I'd. Yeah, I do knife handle. This handle here, that's a piece of Osage. My buddy brings me out Osage from Michigan, and that one's Osage. This one's also Michigan. This is black walnut here. Ash is hard to get anymore. That ash beetle has pretty much decimated the ash. And I have a heck of a time finding ash. I really like ash for handles, for like these. Like ash handles for tomahawks are one of my favorites. But that ash boring beetle has pretty much killed all the ash in this country, and it's pretty hard to find anymore. Oak is hard because not only is it hard, but I'll show you. So this is oak. And oak is not only hard, but it's really, really, really tight grained. And so for some kind of handles, oak works really good. But oak doesn't work real great for stuff that you want some flex in it and spring. Like for an axe handle, oak doesn't work very good. But for a post hole digger or the handles on a wheelbarrow, oak works really good because they don't flex. You really want like a I'll show you. Here's an axe that my son and I forged a year ago, and this is hickory. And hickory, that's what all the lumberjacks want because they flex. And when you're looking for a handle, you want the grain to be running this direction because you want that flex to be this way. It makes for a much stronger handle. And this is one I built for myself, and I don't want to sell this. This is why it's been hanging on the walls, because I don't want to sell this. The first really nice piece that my son and I forged together when he moved up here to Cody. So an ash tree. Yeah, the trouble about the ash, right, you got to have the grain all right and everything. So in order for me to get the handle material that I like, I need to have a bunch of it. I have some cherry. I'll show you kind of what I use for knife handles. So I regularly get blocks like this. This is too small. I could actually use this piece to do some handles on this little knife like this. But that's a piece of cherry. And then here's some more of that black walnut. And this is fine for handles. Here's a piece of this is a mule deer horn. And it makes really traditional handles, but I honestly don't think that it's not the best quality handle. And they tend to be really punky on the inside. And so they're really hard and solid on the outside, but you get a horn that big and the inside of that horn is really, really punky. And so they don't make the best handles. Traditionally, tons and tons of knives have these handles on them, but it's not the best handle material. Here's a piece of that, what do they call this? Mahogany. This is that mountain mahogany that comes from the West Coast. This is probably from Oregon, this piece. And that is some hard stuff. Yeah, I like the horn. It's traditional. I like a horn handle. I do a little bit of everything when it comes to those. So what have we been in there? That's been in there about 30 minutes. Well, I see a difference. It's changing. I don't really want that acid to get up underneath my handle and degrade my handle out. We're going to test it. Make sure I don't wipe my face with that now. But I do all kinds of knives. So here's a little draw knife I did. Shiny, yeah. Firefly, shiny. I typically do kind of specialized knives. I generally don't do what everybody else is doing. Oh, I know what I wanted to show you guys. Where did I put it? I meant to put this on the Etsy store. I meant to put this on the Etsy store before I went live, but so I did this set of spurs the other day, and I was not happy with the other spur that I did. And so I do 6 or 7 of these a year. I really like buck knives, and I haven't owned a new buck knife in years. Buck knives traditionally back in the day were very hard, and so they kept an edge really, really good, but they were fairly brittle, which is not a big deal if you're not abusing your knife. But they're hard to sharpen, and so you got to. A lot of people complain about buck knives being too hard to sharpen. I mean, you're going to laugh, but let me see if I can pull my pocket knife out if I can find it in my pocket. I'm carrying a 30-year-old old timer. That's what I carry in my pocket. Not a new one. This is an old one, so this is an American-made one. And the thing about a charade like this is if you can see that or not. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. That goes to the gas bill this month. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate that. I opened up my gas bill today, and it was $280 for my gas bill. Oh, moly. We've had 3 weeks of just absolutely brutal weather here in Cody. And so, yeah. So anyway, so yeah. Back to this. So anyway, I did a set of spurs the other day. I wasn't really happy with the way the second spur turned out. And so I just cut the shank off of the second one. And instead of wasting them, I'm making a door knocker. And I meant to put that on the Etsy store. I guess I'll do that after the live stream. So when it hangs on the wall, it hangs so it's not touching and getting rusty. It hangs off on the door, so it hangs off free like that, so it's not touching. Because what happens is anywhere where the water sits, eventually they'll rust. But if you make them so they hang kind of free, then the water drips off and they don't have a tendency to rust. And of course, I have my special coating that I put on there. But that is a one-of-a-kind door knocker. You will never see another one like it because I couldn't make two that matched. How am I going to make another one? And that's a real spur, actually. I actually made them to be worn as spurs. So what I did is, here's the second one. And I already cut the shank off of it. So I'll have to make another shank. You can watch me build all this stuff on the channel. I pretty much record at least part of all these projects. So this is going to go on the Etsy store as soon as I'm off of the live. I actually stamped this one in the back with my name on it. I don't stamp a lot of my work, but unless I'm real proud of it, I'm pretty proud of that. That turned out good. I would totally wear that set of spurs. I would totally wear those. Little short 2.5-inch shank with a little rowel in it with the shaft guard. The shaft guard, I hand split the shaft guard out. And then somebody was asking about nails the other day. And so I was forging nails. Oh, I had a gal come in and that's what it was. I had a gal come in and she wanted some nails. And man, thanks for that super chat. I really, really appreciate it. She was asking about nails, so I hand forged up a bunch of nails for her. So these are hand forged. These are little hand forged nails that I make. And like I said, you can go back and watch me make all this stuff on my videos. But we're getting close to Easter. So I thought, well, heck, I'll just make up some Easter crosses. And so I did that. I'm not really into the whole thing, but yeah, she wanted me to make her some nails. She didn't want me to nail her. I've been hungry in my life, but I ain't never been that hungry. She was doing some kind of something for a charity in town. What do I got here? Oh, here's one of the drawer pulls. So I do tons of these drawer pulls. In fact, I just posted a couple of shorts of me making these. And I posted a longer form video of showing how I cut that out. I did a long video of that. So if you're interested in that, you can go watch me cut how I split that shaft. They call that a shaft guard. So when you got this spur on, you're wearing it on your boot. This is supposed to keep your shafts from getting into your rowel. But here's the bread and butter. These are the bread and butter of the business. I sell a lot of those. And then see these hat racks back here in the back? those hat racks. I think I've done something like 3,000. I think I just passed 3,000 of those hat racks I built. So, boy, the old bubbles are bubbling off of it. Be a little careful. I don't want that to get into that handle. Yeah, I know, right? So I'm working on a order right now for 80. I'll go get one. I'll show you. I'm working on an 80 hat rack order right now. So a guy in California, I guess he must be a haberdasher, and he ordered 80 of these. See the little horse faces? So this goes against the wall, right? And then your hat goes on there like that. So I'm about half done with that order. And of course, so 80 of those, that's 20, 40, that's 2 cases of horseshoes. 2 cases of horseshoes for those. You can find these on the Etsy store. But the regular ones is what I mostly sell. Mostly these. No, I think this guy, he told me that he's got a tack store, like a Western store, Western wear store. And so he's going to use them on the Western wear store. So, yeah, I do. It's if I just have to build one of these, like if somebody just came in and says, NJ, build me one of these, I would have an hour. I'd have an hour in each one of these. And you can go back and into my videos and watch all the processes. Like I posted a short, I don't know, yesterday or day before of me bending these. And it's quite a process just to bend those. Yeah, that little detail, a lot of detail in them. So if you're buying stuff from me, because I'm sure you could get them from China, you know, cheap. So, but if you're getting these from me, what nobody realizes is you're supporting about 3 different artists when you buy this stuff from me here, because I got a scrap guy, and the scrap guy goes around and he gathers up the horseshoes for me, and then I've got 3 or 4 horseshoers that bring me their old horseshoes, and then I trade the farriers around. I trade them. I'll show you what I trade them. I trade a lot of the farriers. These. So these are hook picks. These are a tool that I make for cleaning out the horse's feet when you're shoeing horses. I've probably done 3,000 of these, and so a lot of those guys. What kind of an American are you? I'm a I'm a 4th generation American. My great grandfather was born in England, but his younger brother was born in the United States. And on the other side, on my mother's side, I'm 4th or 5th generation American. Yeah, yeah, these are very popular. if you've got horsey people in your lives, these make a great gift. Because everybody that owns a horse has one of these. This is like, if you have a horse, you have a halter for your horse and you have a hoof pick for your horse. So that just kind of goes with the thing. But I do all, I mean, I got stuff that you guys won't even know what it is. So I guarantee that there will be nobody in this live stream. There's 34 people right now in this live stream, and nobody will know what these are. If you haven't watched one of my videos, because I guarantee there isn't another video on YouTube of anybody that's ever made these. You're from Wisconsin? I got family in southwestern Wisconsin, down around Prairie du Chien, right? So I'm going to give it a minute. Who knows what this tool is? And generally you use them as a set. There's your hint. These are a tool, and they get used as a set. I'm going to give you guys just a minute. And it's one of the things that helped. They've only been around about, let's see, 160 years. This tool has only been around 160 years. You don't, Joel, you just be quiet. I've already been showing your fancy work here. I've already been showing your very beautiful work here. So some of these, he just went all out on some of these. All right, well, I'll give it a few minutes and then I'll tell you what they are. I'll hold them up again. Don't you give it away, Joel. No, it has nothing to do with ropes. Well, you can use a rope. You can use a rope on the tool. You're a recluse yourself. Hello, Chuck. Got some of my old friends are in here today. Yes, recluse yourself. Because you watched me forge these, so you can't. All right, everybody give up? I'll go get a piece of wire. I was told that they're still using these today. I had a lineman the other day tell me that they still use these occasionally. Yeah, no, that's not what it is. So what these are is they call them a fencing dog or a wire dog. And so what you do is, and they really work good on barbed wire. And of course, the barbed wire was invented in what, 1868 or something like that is when barbed wire, after the Civil War, barbed wire was invented. So what this is designed to do is you put your wire in there and then that cants against the wire, okay? And I was told that they use them on, they're still using these today. And I guess some guys prefer these because it doesn't leave marks on the wire. And then what you do is you put the other one on the other wire. You spin that around. And then you run a come along or a piece of rope back and forth or a block and tackle. And that allows you to pull these together. And now you can stretch the wire. So they're fence stretchers or wire stretchers. And if you want, you can watch me. I have several videos of me forging these. So you can use one, like if you were pulling a piece of wire stationary, you could pull one. But generally, you would use them in the middle of the fence or in the middle of the wire, pull the two pieces together, and then tie the two pieces of wire together. But that's what those are. They're called a fencing dog or a wire dog, fence stretchers. I don't even know if there's a company. There used to be a company around that made them. I don't know that there's any company that's making these still today. Not in America. More Maker. There used to be a company called More Maker that makes them, but I don't think anybody's making them anymore. No, I don't do swords, and the reason I don't do swords is because it requires special tools, and you have to have a special long forge. You have to have special quenching tanks. Pretty much the biggest knife I will do is about that big. That's about as big as I will do because that's as big as my quenching tank is. That's as big as my forge. I only have a forge big enough to get that much material in. I've turned down doing forged in fire twice. I've turned them down. I turned down forged in fire the blade show, and then I turned them down. They had an idea during COVID they were going to do something different other than knives and blades, and I turned them down there too. Well, and that's all one piece of steel. So you can see that I split that, and I kind of cheated because I split that and I folded that out of the way, and then I forged up the handle, and then I wrapped that back around, and I did actually weld that back, but you can't see where I welded that back. So, but yeah, that's about as big as I'll do. I don't specialize in it. And as far as big goes, let's see. I've got several axes over there that I forged, but I've got a bunch of axes on the wall that I've forged. I gotta see the back wall here. There's my wall of, that's my wall of tongs, and that's my wall of axes over there. So. I don't know. I don't know if it's making much difference or not. So back when Forged in Fire was pretty new, I don't know, it's been 12 years ago now or something like that. A guy from over in Powell, Wyoming, which is just about 20 miles from here, he got on there, and he was a weekender guy. He worked in the oil patch, and I can't think of what his name is. It was something French, his last name. Anyway, he got on there, and he won it. And then, of course, when you win, then you go back and do the champions thing. And he won that, and it just totally screwed up his whole life. Because it's like he had to change his address, and everybody, his email, and everybody was bothering him. And what nobody understands about Forged in Fire is you only get paid if you win. Now, and I don't know, maybe they've changed it now, but the way it was is you fly back to wherever. The second time they wanted me to come to Connecticut. And it was right after COVID had kind of quieted down. and they wanted me to bring a team of guys. So it was one of these things where they wanted me to build some other stuff. I don't know what it was. They wouldn't tell me. But it wasn't just me. It was me and my group of guys. So remember Jesse James had that show, what was it called, Monster Garage or something like that? I kind of just assumed that it was something like that, or they were going to have us build something in a competition. And it was 8 days. So I would have had to be gone. I would have had to get from Cody, Wyoming to someplace on the East Coast for 8 days. Then they film for 8 days. And they wanted me and all of my crew, which they said like 4 guys, so me and 3 guys, and they would have wanted me to film it wearing a mask. Now, I don't know if you've ever done any of this work, but standing in front of this forge when it's cooking is kind of miserable. And trying to work with a respirator mask on. I might have done it, but the old boys that I was going to bring with, they were like, no, there's no way. There's no way we're going to wear a mask for 8 days. And it kind of defeated the whole purpose because I wanted to promote my own business. Because it's a pretty good bet that you're not going to win. And if you don't win, you don't get paid. And so you shut your shop down for 8 days. You go back, you film, and then who knows, it might take a year for that to come out. And then maybe you win and maybe you don't win. But either way, it's going to put a huge... I already have, just from this, just from doing this, I have people weekly calling me and want me to build oyster knives. And I'm in Cody, Wyoming. An oyster knife? No. So oyster knives, that was the latest one. And then somebody wanted me to build knives for their wedding. They wanted me to do wedding knives and stuff. And I'm just like, no, I'm not doing. I don't want to. So I can't imagine if you went on Forged in Fire and won that, and then everybody and their brother want you to come and do crazy stuff. So an ice hook look like. I used to have an ice hook in here. A cant hook. I used to have one hanging here. Ice hooks were almost like a set of tongs that they would use to, back when people they had ice boxes in their house instead of refrigerators. A jellyfish knife. Yeah, a crab knife, right? No. No. There's a couple of things I refuse to build. One of the things I refuse to build is rug beaters. I will not build a wire rug beater. Go to the Amish. They specialize in building wire rug beaters. Go get one from the Amish. And I refuse to build wind chimes. Don't come to me and ask me to build a wind chime. I will not build a wind chime. I will not do it. And you'd be surprised how many people come to me and say, oh, NJ, you should build a wind chime. Number one, I don't want to build a wind chime because I hate wind chimes, because the wind blows 100 miles an hour every day in Cody, Wyoming, and you end up fixing every wind chime that... I get 6 women a year that come in here and I have to repair their wind chimes. Ain't doing it. Nope. I tell you what, you want me to build you a wind chime, I'm going to lay my hand out there. And you bring a wad of $100 bills. And when you put $100 bills in that hand, and when you can put enough $100 bills in there that I think it's worth me building a wind chime, I'll tell you to stop. I ain't building no